Hey, it's Drybear. There have been some data mines and leaks of the upcoming patch for October 10th, the final update for Season 1. So I wanted to dive in those today. Just keep in mind that this is going to be speculative. We're just going to kind of speculate at what they might mean and what the data mining looks like going into the update in a couple weeks. Now, the original post is listed here. I can leave a link for it down below, and you can see the original name here before I translate it using Google Translate to see the user that posted this and translated or just kind of pulled the data mining out of the client files that they have in the Korean version of the game as options for what could be coming in the next update. And keep in mind, again, this is just speculation. We're just going to talk about what's in the data mining, what's in the game files, what it might suggest for the update for October 10th. But of course, I've been a game developer myself. I know sometimes things end up in the game files or in the packages for Unreal that really have nothing to do with it, or they're just kind of being misunderstood based on the naming for it. But we're just going to look at that as part of a fun exercise to see what might be coming for the updates. The first thing to talk about is Deathstalker, the new ultimate, the final void intercept boss to do in the game. This will be coming with the update on October 10th and will be dethroning Gluttony. Now, they already talked about in an interview that what they want to do with these updates is they want to nerf the older content, so Gluttony will likely catch a nerf either right with the October 10th or shortly after, to make them easier to farm, easier to play, easier to farm, amorphous with, and then Deathstalker will come into the game. We know Deathstalker, at least from the initial idea, is going to be a toxic kind of boss coming off of the Gluttony cold version. And in this case, there's a couple mechanics that show up in the data mining. The first one is there will be skull missiles that fly out and deal damage. This is kind of like Pyromaniacs. I'm guessing this is going to be the chains that Pyromaniacs has the up to dodge, but there's also some references to a few things inside of the Deathstalker game files, things like a trap that you have to deal with, and possibly even a puzzle or riddle that you have to do. I'm very concerned about this in general because, you know, this could be an interesting way to play the game. They already did puzzles and gimmicks with the Season 1 invasion, and they said they were going to reduce this, and this could just be a translation issue or a game file issue, but riddle and puzzle comes up a lot in the game files for Deathstalker in general, and it could be that Deathstalker is going to be more of a, like, frenzy state mechanic. Now, this is not uncommon with a lot of the other characters and bosses that we fight in the game. Any frenzy state has the possibility of, you know, Swamp Walker, Grave Walker, or even Frost Walker have the kneecaps you have to shoot. You have to do the balls for Obstructor, shoot those in the air and hit the weak point on him. Hanged Man, you have to break the thing in his mouth. And it's very possible there might be some other like non-combat related engagement that goes along with the Deathstalker for that specifically. And I think from that as well, there's going to be a lot of question of whether this fits here. Again, this could be a mistranslation, but let me know what you think about there being another layer of gameplay on top of the normal combat that exists for Deathstalker. They even make references to sending bone letters, so like having to match symbols or doing something in a circular pattern as part of that. And again, this might be kind of more towards a puzzle or riddle style gameplay. And if it's something that's kind of minor, it might go well, but obviously we know that the reaction for puzzles and puzzle mechanics for Season 1 was very mixed, to say the least. Now, there is also reference to new kinds of poisons in the game files as well. This could be related to a rework for Freyna. It's very possible this is coming along with Deathstalker as well. So there's a poison erosion debuff. This is something that probably comes along with Deathstalker as like some special poison effect you have to deal with, some kind of condition you have to get rid of, or things you have to deal with as well. There's also trap being used again as part of either falling into a trap, maybe you get teleported to a different area, or maybe you have to deal with the riddle on top of that. And there's also like area of effect areas, and there's a teleport as well, though this could also be referring to like Executioner or Pyromaniac teleport, when it teleports you into the air and you fall to the ground. It's not really part of the main thing. You just have to kind of land before you get exploded upon by the AoE that follows. There are also new icons in the game files shown here with these three here. This one in the middle looks, at least to me, like it's more of a Deathstalker icon. It looks very similar to Deathstalker's visage. Like if you look at the image of Deathstalker up here, as far as like the way that Deathstalker looks, the icon down below here is probably the set icon for Deathstalker's unique external components. Every major boss, especially the endgame bosses, have their own special unique set of externals. So I'm guessing that this is going to come along with Deathstalker. It has its head on it. That's probably what that's going to be. And there's a question on what these other two are here as well. Like there might be some new, maybe there's a debuff icon that comes along with Deathstalker. These might be all of the Deathstalker icons for the special unique effect that it has, the special external component set that it has, as well as something here to do with this icon on the shield icon on the right, which may be related to the fight or maybe something else. Next, there is something very exciting in the game files for this as well. And this is something to very seriously consider, that hopefully this is something that's coming. So inside of the Deathstalker game files, there is a reference to normal and hard difficulty. Now, this could be something else. It could be something that they set up for the like the package structure for the character. Maybe there's different, like maybe it's two different forms, because we know that Deathstalker transforms. There's a phase 1 and phase 2, like a frenzy state for Deathstalker. We know that there's like a hanged man version where Deathstalker is up and then Deathstalker is down. It's very possible that this boss just has that in the game files, but there is a reference to a tier 2 and a tier 3, as well as a tier 3 and a V3 that doesn't exist in the game files anymore. And it's very possible that there's difficulty. Now, this is something that I think they've needed for a while on the hardest fights, mostly for like gluttony really more than anything, but something that's more matchmakeable, and then like a hard, super hard version of the fight that maybe has different different difficulty rewards for it. I think that what they're having right now is there's a lot of people that have not done gluttony in the game, not because they're unable to do gluttony. They don't have a character build that works for gluttony. They do. They just don't want to matchmake it, because the matchmaking for gluttony right now is very much built around having a pre-made and people working together, and that discourages randoms from queuing up together to do the content to farm the materials. Now, there could be a line to draw here where more people are encouraged to form groups, and maybe with the party finder that they're working on, maybe that becomes a lot more feasible, where you can actually make a match lobby saying, hey, I want to clear gluttony, and people can queue up to it and say, hey, I would also like to clear gluttony, and you can see their character and their build, and you can decide whether you want to bring them in and things like that. But if they have a normal version of the boss and then like a super hard version, I think that solves the problem of people wanting to do the content to get the loot, but also people really wanted to bring their best to the hardest content in the game. There's definitely a lot of people in the First Descendant right now that want to max their build up as high as they can, get it working as best they can, and test themselves against the hardest brick wall that the First Descendant has to offer. And I think that there's room for that. Like if there's like an Inferno or Super Nightmare or challenge version of the final boss in the game, that creates a lot of opportunity for people to really, really make their build as strong as it can be, while also having options for people to matchmake the content and get the loot that they need. Next, we know that the Frostwatcher Scout Rifle is coming. This is a Scout Rifle. It says Recon Rifle here, but we know it's a Scout Rifle for impact rounds. And we know that based on what they've told us so far, that is not only going to lower the chill resistance of the target it hits, but also grant additional chill power to the user. So a very easy pickup for characters like Viessa or Haley that might be looking for some more power as part of that. It grants a bonus every time you hit an enemy at long range, so there could be some max range bonuses as well. Maybe a good fit for Haley in that specific event. Reduces enemy cold resistance and increases your own cold attribute skill damage, and it's very suitable for Viessa or Haley, so a nice way to scale that up. And it could be that this replaces the Clairvoyance build for a lot of Haley and also Viessa mobbing builds, because it might be a little bit more bursty or have better stats on it, because it also increases chill power, which Clairvoyance just reduces the resistance that the target has. There's also a new ability icon in the files that looks like this, and this is just just icon appeared in the files, and you can speculate on what this might be. As far as unique ability goes, I don't know if we're getting a new global ability for all characters that goes along the lines of grapple. I don't know if there are key mappings left on the controller that will allow you to actually do that properly, or if this is meant to be something that's like an actual addition to some weapons, or maybe a module or some kind. We will talk about modules in a second, but let me know what you think this icon that has appeared could be, and what it could mean for the game as well. There's also this image in the files, and some people are speculating this might be the scope for the Frostwatcher. Personally, I hope not, because it seems very distracting if this is going to be the scope image with it's cool, it's very thematic, so when you scope in with the Frostwatcher, maybe it has like all this ice coming in on it, and there's like a reticle in the middle, but for me this feels a little too distracting on just being able to see what's around you when you're scoped in, but this probably is what this is, or maybe it's a UI element, something like that. Also in the game files, there is what I'm calling Frogby, which is it's a Valby skin that has like frog-like elements. It's like Froppy from My Hero, I guess, but it's got like this kind of like mixture of like frog eyes with like the skin suit for Valby. I don't know. It's kind of a wacky looking skin. It's got like a frog vibe to it. I'm very curious if they have this presentation here. I'm wondering if they're also going to include an emote that allows you to take the frog stance, which would be hilarious for a lot of different characters being able to go down like this, and probably also for the gooners in the game that would like to see different angles on their favorite character for research purposes, I guess, would be able to do the frog pose. But this is Frogby, a skin that either is going to come with this patch or maybe is going to be in season 2, but is a new skin option for Valby. And I guess if it is recolorable, it might create some new options for presentation. There's also reference to a back attachment that is a fire extinguisher. So if you're picking up the Fire Brigade skin that's available in the game right now, maybe you pick that up and you'll be able to add a fire extinguisher to the back of it. So if you want to do your Fire Force cosplay, you'll be able to add that there, and it would create another back attachment. This could be as part of like an ultimate Descendant combo. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, or maybe it's just part of the store as an option for the skin coming in October 10th. There's also a lot of skins that still exist in the game file. So from here forward, this could be skins that were moonlighted and removed from the game, skins that are being reworked, skins that may never come out, or skins that are going to be in the October 10th update, or maybe even in the December update for season 2, but it's something to think about as they are there. So Freyna in the game files has a Vulgus Slayer skin. I'm hoping this is something super related to Vulgus. It's kind of something twisted and dark, something freaky for Freyna, and it's something that fits her character that might go along with it. It's very possible that this is her actual, you know how every Ultimate, when they come out, they have an Ultimate related skin that is exclusive to the Ultimate version of that character. It's possible that Vulgus Slayer Freyna is going to be part of that package as her Ultimate version, which would be wicked, because if you look at like Biolab or some of the White Knight Gulch, like Vulgus infested territories, they're wicked and kind of nasty and biological and stuff like that. I feel like Vulgus related art on a Freyna specific skin would go hard and be really toxic and kind of poison and stuff like that. Next is a skin that was in the beta version of the game and is likely to come back for Halloween, which is this Glay skin, this vampire Glay. So she has like these like devil, like tiny little devil horns on her hair, like a little hairband, black and red options there with some like kind of Castlevania style buckles and shackles and things like coming off. So it's very likely that Vampire Glay is going to come out as a single sale skin for the October 10th patch to go along with Halloween. Halloween is a event, a holiday that is not universal across the globe. I think it is celebrated in Korea, though not as aggressively as some other countries like Europe or primarily North America for that specific holiday, but it is kind of a theme that sells well around this time of year, so it's possible that Vampire Glay is going to make its way into the October 10th patch. There's also a reference to the last Bastion Ajax. This could be a lot of things, but if it's another cool armored skin for Ajax, I'm super down for that. There's a reference to this skin here, which is either Enzo or Blair. In the game files, there is a Blackthorn Haley, a White Hawk Enzo, and an Incineration Expert Blair. If I were to make a guess, this looks more like White Hawk Enzo than anything else, but it's possible that it could be, you know, even Blair or something like that. But this kind of, it seems like this would be White Hawk Enzo, which is a cool Enzo skin, especially if you get a nice helmet that you can add to it and mix and match with other skins and recolor with the paint to create some, you know, original looks. Blackthorn Haley is probably going to be super hype. I think Haley deserves more skins. I think if you could get the hood on Haley, like a sniper hood for Haley, that'd be awesome. And if that's part of that skin, I think a lot of people would enjoy that. This was a skin that was shown in the beta for Viessa with this kind of like really tight midriff, you know, half coat and then like this ponytail on the top. It's very possible this one just got completely moonlighted, you know, got rid of. It's not going to come back. But this one was at least created and implemented in game for Viessa and was available in the beta. And it's possible this comes back at some point. Given the amount of content we've looked at so far, this might be something that comes back for like the December season 2 update as an option. But if you're looking forward to more Viessa skins, it's possible this skin is, you know, coming in the next couple months. Also have what's referenced as a Kyle skin, which makes sense because it has his like Iron Man reactor core here that he uses as part of that. It's like almost like a, I don't know, like more of a rogue guerrilla operation warfare, like early Iron Man set for Kyle. But even just the fact that Kyle is getting a cosmetic, I think is a really cool addition because it means that those characters aren't being left behind and there's other content coming for them as well. And maybe this might coincide with them doing a Kyle buff at the same time. So maybe October 10th, Kyle gets a major buff and becomes like screeching into the meta, along with a cool new Guerrilla Tactics style skin that you can pick up for Kyle, which would be super awesome. Then, of course, we know that there's going to be an exclusive story for Ultimate Freyna going into her past, what Room Zero was, what the trauma she suffered was, and the graphic that they gave us today on the social media site is something that is kind of referencing, I guess, what this story is going to be all about. So what they posted on Twitter specifically, or x.com, was Ultimate Freyna, the Nightmare Dominator, and this could just be poorly translated. Some of the word usage here is kind of odd, but this is the Ultimate Freyna that we know of, and then the next image is Freyna's ultimate project was carried out without her knowledge, granting her new powers she did not know she had. Rather than enhancing her psyche with mind-controlling drugs, it has been an opportunity for her to face her wounds and move forward. Now, it's possible, since they're doing an exclusive story, hopefully this is even more in-depth than the bunny story where we got to see the birthday scene where she gets a cake and stuff like that. More custom cutscenes and being able to connect with the character would be really cool. But they also mentioned mind-controlling drugs. I think what they're trying to get at here, they just don't have a great translator for English to some of this, is that the idea that Freyna kind of just like took it all natural. She went cold turkey and just went through the process, whereas everyone else like goes on like painkillers to get through it. So she's just hardcore like that, and she kind of has that process. But this is what I think they're referencing for the Nightmare Dominator. She went to the darkest part of her mind and she conquered it and overcame her trauma. Then there's also some new like data mining for Freyna in general. They mentioned like a couple times a new poison kind of debuff. Right now we have poison and we also have room 0, but it's possible there's going to be a new type for Freyna. Hopefully they do some reworks to the dots and dot management and debuff management to make this work. In some of the translations, it looks like necrosis would be an option, or corrosion or poison evoke. So these are the two new Ultimate Freyna Transcendent mods. One of them seems like it causes more poisoning or has a new debuff. I mean, if there was a third type of poison that doesn't get blocked out by the other ones, I guess that would be super powerful for her, because her problem right now is poisons and room zeros cannot override each other or stack, which creates a lot of issues with it. But corrosion and poison evoke seem to be in the data mining for her two new mods. And then next is Haley modifications. They don't have any descriptions for these, but they do have icons. And one of the things that I really like about this is if you look at the icons for Haley's red mods, the first one is most undoubtedly her shoulder turret. So I'm hoping that one of her first few red mods allows her to do more with her first ability, her Q, to be able to do more mobbing. There's already like a bunch of mobbing builds. I have a mobbing build out for Haley that uses her first ability, but that's definitely her mounted turret on her shoulder. And hopefully that gives us a mod, like a mobbing build. And the second Transcendent mod has this icon, which could end up being just for her 4, which means that maybe the bossing Haley is going to get even stronger with a new Transcendent mod. There's also a reference to replacing the super cold effect that increases damage per stack, which might be referring to her third ability, the ability to stack up, crit chance. Maybe that replaces it with something else with this one specifically, but we'll have to wait and see for that one on launch. Now, they also mentioned for this update, they wanted to add in new ultimate modules. They didn't specify whether this was going to be weapon or character, though they do have some updated icons in the database now for some of these, and it's very possible that we're getting maybe even both, because I see Descendant mod icons in here, and I also see weapon mod icons in here for different builds, like the vibration absorption I see a whole bunch of like different icons that are already in here. So it's possible we're going to get more yellow mods for both weapons, hopefully of all ammo types, and Descendants for that as well. Even if it's just one of those, I think it's going to make a big addition to the game. But some of these icons got updated, some new icons got added, and they reference new ultimate modules, which I think would be a nice, huge addition. Like if they dropped like 3 to 5 yellow mods for every ammo type and Descendants, along with Ultimate Freyna, the new boss, and the new difficulty dungeons, I think it's going to create a lot of new theory crafting that will make the game interesting for a good while. Next is a reference to the higher difficulty infiltration operation. So right now, infiltration operation, which I commonly refer to as dungeons, because that's what they are to me, but infiltration operations have a normal mode and a hard mode. And on the hard mode, you can run higher difficulty options for that to get better rewards. And they've been talking about adding another difficulty option for infiltration operation, a third option for that. And this is what that's referencing here, and that is set to release on October 10th. So they added in a whole bunch of new debuffs. Some of these debuffs already existed or were disabled. Again, this is data mining. This could be debuffs that were removed from the game. Like they have couples in here where like it lowers your damage when you grapple. We know they got rid of that. They also got rid of the you can't jump and you can't sprint. These two were removed, so we know those are gone. But there's also like reductions here. This is a rant that I've gone on many times on my stream and in videos before, where I think that they need to stop doing debuffs for the dungeons, for the difficulty levels, and for the evasions. I think for PvE games, what they should do is make the content a little bit harder and then give us a list of very strong buffs. Like the buff, it shouldn't be like your power coefficient on your gun goes way down. It's like general weapons are way stronger, so you're like more encouraged to use the weapon that you like, and then you make really fun, explosive, overpowered builds for that specific dungeon using the things you have available, rather than it feeling like all general rounds weapons suck for this dungeon and you're forced to use something else, which I think is a way worse feeling than trying to buff something up, right? Rather than lowering toxic attack power by 80%, instead of lowering it, raise it up and then make the content harder, so that if you use Freyna for that, you get a massive buff for Freyna and you get to feel super insanely strong for that, which feels way better than taking away your sprint speed, removing your hook time, making your defense lower, lowering all the elements down by 87%, so you're forced to use something you don't want, removing your shield, increasing all cooldowns by 16%. Like I think all like debuffs are not fun, in my opinion, for PvE games. Make the content harder and add in a bunch of really fun buffs, because part of PvE games is just getting overpowered, feeling very strong, and letting those builds run wild. And I think that they should do that for these, especially since these are instanced encounters inside of a 4-man matchmaking. It's not open world. It's very controlled environment. Have buffs instead of debuffs. Get rid of the debuffs. And I'll leave a link down below for all of these. You can read through these. Again, some of these like power sprint not available, jump not available. These are debuffs that existed on the current version of hard infiltration operations, and they were removed because no one liked them. So because this is a data mine, they're pulling up old messages in the database of things that were removed, but there's also some new ones in here that didn't exist. So it's possible they're adding in more debuffs for the highest difficulty infiltration operation. So maybe you keep getting more and more debuffs until it gets harder and harder towards the end, and being able to complete it is a big accomplishment. But they have like fusion power minus, max HP down. There's just some things in here that just there's new ones that I really wish or hope that don't make it into the game. But also like things like this, getting hit 10 times increases the damage you take. This is already in the game as part of invasions, so you can see this. I guess they're just going to be adding more of these or maybe replacing them. Next is the long-awaited ETA 0, a mystery merchant. Now, what they've confirmed so far prior to the data mining here is that they will allow you to talk to ETA 0, sell your excess blueprints specifically, get a unique currency from ETA, and then convert that currency into more blueprints. That's all they've confirmed for us directly. There's other things that we hope are in there, like cosmetics or, you know, even paints, like being able to buy paint so you can have extra paint for your character would be really nice, but we don't know if that's going to be in there one for one. They don't know how the trading is going to work, but there is icons now for ETA 0 transactions in Albion, and the icons you can interact. There's Albion headquarters trade system, activate a trade, and there's some data mining that goes along with that. So we know that ETA 0 is coming in October 10th. Then they have a preview of some of the challenges we're going to have as part of the battle pass. So if you haven't finished completing out the supply store in the battle pass, getting those challenges done, these are the challenges that are heading your way for week 5 through the end of the battle pass. Killing enemies in specific areas, doing defense special operations, you know, mods. So you can scroll through these and look to see what's available or what's coming your way, so you can plan it out. These are probably going to be pretty accurate. I don't see them trying to scramble to change them after they've been data mined. Like, who cares if it's White Knight Gulch completing missions for week 7 of the battle pass? It's very minor, so these probably all are going to be accurate for the missions that we'll receive in the battle pass. So if you want to plan ahead, you can read these and translate these into more clear English than Google does in order to understand exactly what's coming down the pipe. And that's all there is for the latest data mining, thanks to this user who pulled some of these files out of the Korean client, so the information that was available there. And let me know what you think and what your interpretation of this. Again, this is my interpretation. It's data mining that is Google translated into English from Korean, so there's going to be a lot of misses here for sure, but I thought it would be a fun exercise to just go through and see what's coming. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.